it has been quite challenging in Selangor, where 500,000 people had no access to water. And the level of anger, frustration is all-time very high though. And I think this is the longest ever water disruption in the history of Selangor in the last so many years. Now, I think the anger and disappointment is very valid. It's very understandable, especially if you live in 20-story low-cost houses, 15-story low-cost houses, or even 5-story low-cost houses. If you are pregnant, if you are sick, you have to carry the water up to the 5th floor, 4th floor, 3rd floor. So it is understandable. The anger is understandable. The disappointment is understandable. And I think people now want justice. They want some answers. They want some justice. They want answers though. In Klang, for example, I would help people to carry water. For me, it was also very difficult. But what more if you have 5 days or 4 days, no water? This is quite serious though. Now, I'm sure you're familiar that in Selangor, let me just, for those of us who are not familiar, let me give you a background a bit. Selangor was divided into 3 concessionaires, water concessionaires. Puncak Niaga, Splash, and Abbas. Right? Selangor government in the last 2 years, as part of the restructuring, has taken over Puncak Niaga, has taken over Abbas, but has not taken over Splash. The problem that we had was in Splash treatment plant. The problem was in Splash treatment plant. Let me give you the extent of the problem though. It has been reported and has been verified that since 2016, 3 of the 10 water plants have not been repaired. Water pumps. There are 10 water pumps altogether. There are 10 water pumps altogether. Since 2016, 3 of the plants have not been repaired. That means it's been left idle and there was no maintenance. So the system was operating on 7 other plants, 7 other water pumps. Now the 4th water pump was also giving problems. And who located the problem? It is not Splash that came out and said that there's a problem here. It is Air Selangor, that is the vehicle of the state government, which actually noticed one from consumer complaints that they were not getting water in their tamans, and also there was a loss of 30 million liters per day from the dams. And that made them suspicious that something is wrong in Splash's water pump. Therefore, there's a 4th pump which was a problem. A 4th water is a problem. Okay? So therefore, in looking for an answer, I've asked SPAN, Suruhanjaya Perkhidmatan Air Negara, to investigate this matter, to set up a committee to investigate this matter and answer 4 questions. 4 questions. Actually five. But the 4 are: 1, why the 3 water pumps were not repaired since 2016? Okay, number 1. Number 2, the causes of the explosion. Did standard operating procedures, were they followed? Number 3, were the systems maintained properly? And number 4, if Splash could compensate consumers, because the consumers have now had to fork out extra money in order to buy water, in order to buy food outside, and so on and so forth, and therefore there must be some kind of compensation. But I just want to pose the last question. Right now, Splash is having problems. The largest shareholder of Splash is Gamuda. They have not paid TNB millions and millions of debt for electricity use. So therefore, 1, they are in debt with TNB, and number 2, they have not maintained their plants properly, which actually tells you it is time for the federal government to revoke the concession agreement with Splash. So therefore, the real issue that in front of us is, and the push I think that I will make from now on, is to ensure that Splash concession agreement is revoked right away though. If you don't do that, then this problem is going to recur again and again. It's going to recur again and again. So time has come for the government of Malaysia to use Water Services Industries Act in order to revoke the concession agreement and hand it back to the government of Selangor. Again, it must be pointed out, Selangor helped Splash. Splash itself did not come out and say we have a faulty machine, we have a faulty water pump. They didn't say it. Selangor government, IS Selangor recognized the problem because 30 million litre MLD was seeping away from the dams. And also consumers in different tamans were complaining, hey, how come I'm not getting water? Because of the complaints and because of the loss in the water in the dams, IS Selangor realized something was wrong with Splash's treatment plant. So it is they who actually went to SPAN and pushed Splash to do the repair. So the fault squarely lies on Splash. And the second question is, what was SPAN doing all this while? They are the regulators. They have the power to regulate. They have to be informed of all the changes that are taking place, repair works and so on and so forth. What were they doing? What was SPAN doing? SPAN was sitting quiet, doing nothing. And today the cause of this problem is Splash as well as SPAN. SPAN for being a useless regulator, unable to regulate the interests of people, and Splash, we did not have the money even to repair since 2016. So I think this has to be put on record, and I think it's time for the federal government, unfortunately SPAN works is part of the federal government, we are caught in this situation here, has to revoke the concession agreement. Otherwise, the people of Selangor will have the same problem over and over again. Okay? Any questions on that?
Has the state government reached out to the federal government over this matter before this?
Yes. It is SPAN. It is actually IS Selangor that actually told SPAN, hey, something is wrong here. Because IS Selangor cannot go into the property of Splash. It's a concessionaire. It is IS Selangor that went to SPAN and said, something is wrong in Splash. Please go and check.
When was that?
I think on January 19th. Early January. And then they scheduled the repair for just the week before, around Chinese New Year. But because there's a rule that says you should not have it before and after Chinese New Year 1 week, they rescheduled it for last week. And last week, as you know, is a total disaster. Total disaster. Some of you had no water, and some of the low-cost houses, oh God, it's terrible. I don't have to go to the details. Okay? Any questions on that?
Is there any penalty against Splash for not repairing its pump for the past 3 years?
Not past 3 years, past 1 year. Since 2016. It's not 2016.
Is there any penalty against the concession agreement?
I'm not aware, I'm not familiar with the Splash concession agreement with the federal government. It's an OSA document, so there's no way I'll be aware of it.
It said that there is a standoff between the state government and Splash.
There's no standoff. There's no real standoff because the Splash produces treats the water, and IS Selangor sends it to your house. So one organizes or manages treatment plants, the other organizes distribution. So when the distribution was a problem, when people were complaining that their taman wasn't getting water, and when IS Selangor realized that 30 million liters of water was missing from their dam, then they realized something was wrong. So it is actually IS Selangor that went to Splash and said, what is the problem? That went to SPAN and say, hey, something is wrong here. So that is the problem. So this has nothing to do with IS Selangor or Kerajaan Negeri Selangor, but it's actually right on SPAN as well as Splash. What was SPAN doing for 1 year when they knew that these guys have not repaired their water pumps? 3, they have 10 altogether, and 3 wasn't repaired. So what was SPAN doing? Nothing. Right? And I don't want to get the details of it, but the point they're not doing anything, right? And then when IS Selangor located the problem, it's only then that Splash said, let's do the repair. So where is the problem, I asked them. Whose problem is this? And my concern is, this is going to happen again if Splash is still going to manage the treatment plant, because they don't have the money as a result of their debt, and number 2, if they had the money, why didn't they repair in the last 1 year? Nothing. They don't have the money. So it's time to take it away. and give it back to Selangor.
Maybe, sorry, you were saying that three, like Splash is involved with the water treatment. The other two, what are they?
Puncak Niaga
What
and
is-
Abbas.
Okay.
And they have been taken over by Selangor already.
So what is Puncak Niaga's role here?
No, Puncak Niaga is no longer a concessionaire anymore.
Yeah.
The concession has been taken over, bought over by the government of Selangor. So they are over. And Abbas is also taken over. The last one is Splash. So this is Splash's problem. It has got nothing to do with the government of Selangor or IS Selangor. It is IS Selangor that actually helped them though. In fact, I was told last night, that Splash did not have the contractors even to solve this problem. It is IS Selangor that had to recommend their contractors to Splash. That tells you the extent of the problem. So this is, I'm telling you, very serious. I tell you, if the level of anger on the ground, especially in low-cost houses, is unbearable. You can cut the anger and take it home. You know the level of anger, you can cut it out and take it home. That's the kind of anger, though. And understandable, and rightfully so. Especially if you're sick, especially if you're pregnant, especially if the only person who's taking care of the house. You have no choice. You have to go 5 times up and down. And half the time the water spills away because you're carrying the bucket. So it's understandable. So the thing is now, the government must own up. The federal government must own up, take responsibility for this mess, and now cut the concession away from Splash and hand it over to the government of Selangor. Okay, that's one. Right. This other one is about gender equality. And I see a lot of women here, and I hope you guys will give some. Normally gender issues get cut away because the editors are male, right?